There may be a point in the interview process where it's time to give up, where you decide that you're going to pull the plug and not the hiring manager or not the recruiter, but you are in control over what you are going to do. Let me caveat this by saying if you are a candidate that is going through an interview process to just see what's in the market, but you're not particularly interested in that job, or if you're going through the interview process just to get an offer so that you can go back to your existing company and use it as leverage in a counteroffer, I know you are going to greatly piss off the company and the recruiter. And the business world is a small one. You don't want this to bite you in the ass. No recruiter wants to represent you if they are aware that these are your goals, because they're not going to get paid on placing you. So you run the risk of not communicating this to the recruiter and making them angry. I suggest you communicate this to the recruiter early on. And trust me, there are many recruiters that will give you the market intelligence that you want, myself included, and you're not wasting your time. I'm talking about the examples of when you've gone through one or multiple interviews and you've decided this isn't the right role for you. So maybe you've had an initial screening, you might have had that with HR or talent acquisition, and believe there may be a misunderstanding of what you thought the role was versus what the role actually is. And you might decide that you want to request some feedback or clarification, or you might just say, this is an opportunity that I'm not going to proceed with. I don't want to move forward. Or you might find out what the interview process looks like early on and say, I don't want to be a part of this. I'm not going through 8 interviews. And that's absolutely fine. Just communicate this to your recruiter or communicate this to the hiring manager. You might even go on site, see the culture and people interacting and the way the hiring manager speaks to other people on the team or other people that are in the company and just say, this isn't a fit for me. Or you might just physically see the location and commute into that location and say, I don't want to come into work here, or the commute has taken too long, or I don't like the physical environment here, I don't feel comfortable. That's absolutely fine as well. You might want to pull the plug, and you have every right to do that. You may have had multiple rounds of interviews and then be deciding that you've reached an advanced stage and you just don't feel passionately about this anymore and it's not worthwhile. That's absolutely fine. Communicate that. That's a good sign that you know yourself. Maybe you've decided it's not enough change for you, or it's not enough money for you to make that change. Just tell your recruiter or the hiring manager, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with you bowing out of the process. I actually prefer this than continuing through the process just to see if you can get an offer. Know, though, that an interview process could be legitimately stalled for a variety of reasons. There could be vacations. There potentially could be something happening with the company that's causing them to pause and reflect on whether or not they want this position. And if you're not getting the feedback from your recruiter or your hiring manager and you feel like things are just taking too long, again, it's fine to be able to say, I want to consider other options. I am bowing out. Your recruiter is not a magician. They can't work magic if the company is taking too long. But it's reasonable for you to follow up and inquire if this position is still available. You might also have other offers. We've had many candidates that have been in situations where they've had 1, 2, maybe even 3 other offers, and you're not hearing back from the company that was your first choice. It's advisable at that time to you to communicate to the employer directly or to your recruiter that if you are going to move forward, that means that they're going to have to act quickly because you have another offer. And if you have that offer in hand, I do suggest you do that. I also suggest that you never quit your job before you have a signed offer back. I've had many candidates who have turned down offers because they were waiting for something that never came in. So be careful when you're navigating through multiple offers. You need clear communication in those instances. Perhaps there's a personal or financial consideration. It might be you're crunching the numbers and you are seeing that maybe the commissions aren't as great as what you thought they could be, or the timeline has taken so long now that within the next 3 months or 6 months, the work that you've been doing is going to pay out and you want to hang around and you want to wait until you get that money. Or something personal could have come up. All of these situations can arise. I do suggest in the instance of commissions and waiting out, there could be a signing bonus. Maybe there's other issues. Maybe it's your health. Maybe your marriage is breaking up. Maybe you're having a child. Maybe you've changed your priorities. All of this is fine. I always tell my candidates to trust their instincts. If you feel that a particular role or a particular company just isn't right for you anymore, and you're not getting the feedback and the necessary information to make a decision, do not move forward. Stand still. There might be a point in the interview process where you aren't sure if this is the right fit. I get at least 20 to 30 people connecting with me asking my advice on, hey, Jordana, can we speak? I have some challenges and I want to run them through you. Here's some reasons to bow out. You don't know about the comp. You don't know about the hiring manager. Never take a job just for one person. The recruiter is pushing you. The hiring manager says that they'll get back to you on something, and they don't. They never do. It doesn't match your must-have list, and your must-have list should be about 3 to 4 items. You realize the job is far more advanced than your skill set, or you know you're settling. You know you're taking a survival job, and you know you'll be back in the market in a few months. Another reason to bow out, we've talked a little bit about hiring being biased. And so what can you do? Hiring is biased. There's discriminatory and racist practices within hiring and recruitment. And there's nothing that we're going to do to be able to abolish it, although recruiters like me fight it every day. There are things that we are able to do to prevent it, to confront it, to circumvent it, and to be aware of it. And there are many recruiters like myself who are fighting every single day to ensure that hiring managers and companies are being held to task for the illegal practices that they encounter and that they thrust upon us. But for as many recruiters as are out there doing this, there are twice as many that just want their paycheck. So what can you do about this as a candidate navigating through the system when you encounter it? What are you supposed to do? I'm going to share with you some tips, and then I'm going to share with you some examples, because this is a tough one. When you're in a position where you're looking for work and someone who has power or control over you in the process, it is difficult to find your voice. But I promise you, if you don't find your voice and you don't address your concerns and you pursue this opportunity, you are going to find yourself within a very short period of time upset, frustrated, angry, disappointed, depressed, and possibly even dysfunctional in your role. So document everything. Keep records of your interactions, including job postings, the email correspondence, the interview notes. There are organizations, not just legal ones, but there are organizations such as Access, where recruiters have to be licensed. I spoke about them in the previous session. And if there's a complaint against them, that means they could also lose their license. It also could be documented with the HRPA in Canada, which is the Human Resources Professionals Organization. Don't just go on Glassdoor anonymously and blast them. Understand your rights. You will have to familiarize yourself with the ESA, with anti-discrimination laws, with the Civil Rights Act, or similar legislations. You need to know the questions that can be asked of you and the questions that cannot, so that you can confront the interviewer in the situation when it arises. And you know, at least, if you don't do that, that there are going to be consequences for the person who is interviewing you. Or it might be that you're going to make it better for those that follow after you, because again, if you choose to take that job and you know that that hiring manager is racist or discriminatory, it likely isn't going to get better once you get in the door, because they're putting their best foot forward in the interview process. I always encourage people to seek legal advice when there is a legal question. Sometimes you can get a lawyer who will hear you out for nothing. Sometimes it's $250, $300, $400. But I encourage you, for peace of mind, to be able to connect with employment lawyers. If you believe you're encountering discrimination in the hiring process, I do encourage you to consult with an attorney who specializes specifically in employment law. These individuals can provide you with guidance to help you understand your legal options. They can provide constructive feedback to you, and they'll gather information. If you encounter bias in an interview, politely address the issue with the interviewer. If you don't feel like you can do that in the time frame that you have for the interview, express your concerns post-interview or with someone you trust, like the recruiting consultant who placed you there or the HR manager of the company you're working at. Before you apply, research the company. There are so many details that can be found online. Companies have DEI statements. There are regulations. You just need to do your research and look around online at articles, at documents, at reviews. Look at LinkedIn. Look at anything you can get your hands on, like YouTube videos that are posted. Look at the personal social media sites of the leadership at these organizations so that you can get an accurate depiction of who they are and what you're walking into, especially if DEI is something that is meaningful to you. Don't forget to network and seek support. Connect with industry peers or mentors, connect with advocacy groups, or connect with someone that could possibly give you an unbiased interpretation of the company online. I tell candidates all the time, even if I don't have a job for you, if you see a job and you see that I am connected to someone who works at that company, let me know. I'll see if I can get you in, or at least give you some information on the company, or perhaps make a connection. Remember that there are anonymous reporting hotlines, many in Canada and in the US. There are also organizational anonymous hotlines, whistleblower hotlines, where even if you're not an employee of the company, you can take advantage of them to channel your voice and to channel your concerns. Educate yourself. Stay informed about what unconscious biases are. Stay informed about what diversity and inclusion means to you and at these companies, because the more you understand about these topics, the more you will be able to navigate through bias. And pick your battles. You know what is important to stand up against, and you know what isn't. I'm not going to force you to stand up against a hiring manager. No one will. Consider whether it's the best use of your energy and resources, and when it's time to disengage from an opportunity because your mental and emotional well-being is a priority. There are many jobs, roles, and opportunities out there that do not conduct themselves in a biased manner. And you can advocate for change by dismissing this opportunity with this employer, bowing out of the process, saying no. There are also many times where the employer or the hiring manager could potentially be ignorant to what they're doing, and the education that you have in choosing this as a battle, whether you decide to tap out because of this or not, but by informing them and staying engaged, you could actually change their behavior. Unfortunately, I have numerous examples that have happened of hiring managers calling me and making requests, racist requests, no accents, no brown people, no immigrants. There will always be a market for racism and discrimination in hiring, because there will always be agencies that perpetuate this. And if you've been following me on LinkedIn for the last few years, you'll see that I make it my mission to tell these hiring managers and these companies not only to fuck off, excuse my language, but also to take the opportunity to educate them. So please be safe out there. I'll see you in the next one.